This is the Bar Stewards Enquiry.
Right? You're talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
But that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that...
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
And a very warm welcome, bonjour, to the Bar Stewards Weekend Podcast. And it's our weekend. It's that time of year when everyone does their bollocks and you want alder flugs in the big race and the big German breads. And certainly the rain has fallen for the soft ground monkeys. It could be a special weekend if you've got your head on the right way, following the soft ground form. It's finally come. Heavens have opened. And we're looking at a soft ground sort of weekend. And joining me this evening to chew the fat and give our best bets are John Lang. Good evening, John.
Good evening, Lee. It took me ages to get over here ready to broadcast tonight. I've been elbowing everybody this afternoon. It took me ages with all the apologies to make sure I didn't get too long a ban.
yeah. Poor old Ross O'Ryan. Christoph Sumi on a 2-month ban for his actions today in Saint-Cloud. Quite interesting. And joining me also, as well as John, my usual stalwart, are Quentin, Franks and Jack. Good evening, chaps.
Good afternoon, Lee.
Yes.
Good evening.
Yes. Hello, Jack. Yes. It's afternoon from Quentin in fairest Toronto. Yes. Let's get on with it. Best bets then. Who am I coming to first? Quentin, I'm coming to you first.
All right, I'm going to kick it off with a bet in the nursery, 5:30 at Wolverhampton. Horse in question, Absolute Peach, showed nothing her first two starts. She's been given 3 spins over the space of 3 weeks. Third start at Southall, she caught the eye. She ended up 4 and 5 deep. Steadily plugged away towards the death. Normally you'd expect her to fade out the back of the telly, but she was still keeping on at the death. Stamina in the page. I think this trip will suit. Only one firm has it priced up at the moment. That's Denise, and she's 33 to 1. I think she's worth a dart at 33 to 1, given the upside she's got there off a marker 46.
Wow, some start of the show 33s, which won't be 33s, as we know. Quentin's landed some rather large touches last winter, big prices into short prices. So if you can get that 33s with the colours, I think you'll be sitting rather pretty with the price come near post time tomorrow. 1 point win on the nose as always for Quentin, never each way, no wankering. 33s, double carpet with Denise, Absolute Peach. 5:30 Wolves, great start, Quentin. Jacko, coming to you.
Right, well, I thought I'd start the means to go on. I'm going to be tipping up in the showpiece of the weekend, the Arc itself, the 305 Longchamp on Sunday. So, I mean, I'll start with a caveat. It's an open renewal. I think it's going to be a very, we haven't got an enable in the pack this year. We thought we might have a Baid, but he swerved it. And if I'm honest, that's probably benefited the race more than anything. You've had a load turn up that probably wouldn't have. I've taken a look at something a little bit down the pack that I think is just a little bit overpriced on the bare face of it, and it's one of the French horses, Jean-Claude Rouget's Al Hakim. So interesting horse this. He's had a pretty light campaign. He's only been out 4 times, winning 3 of those starts. I think he's been one that the yard have been pretty hot on all season. I read a quote from Rouget saying he sort of saw likenesses of Sotsas in him, who obviously won at the Arc a few years ago. Impressive couple of starts, then went on to finish 4th in the Prix de Jockey Club. Had a bad draw that day, came from wide, but stayed on nicely into the straight. And then he went and won a Group 2 over 10 furlongs back in August, and again stayed on nicely. First time over a 12, which probably has factored into the price a little bit. But I think, being a Sayuni out of the Galileo mare, plenty of stamina there, should be fine. Ground, he's typically been raced on good or good to soft, but I don't see it being a major problem. And I just thought when you look at kind of form lines, Ernesto is half his price. He finished a neck ahead of Ernesto in the Jockey Club. Obviously, Ernesto's gone on to win a Group 1 and come second in another. But this horse has been, lightly campaign. It looks like they've had this race out from a long time ago. He's drawn in 4, which is perfect, around plenty of pace, should get some cover. Just thought he was too big on the bare face of it. I think at around sort of 25 to 1.
Great case, because I mean, if you, I'll come into this in more detail, but basically you make a very, very good case, and we'll discuss the arc towards the end of the show. But like you said, 25 to 1, that is a monster price, because there's very little between him and Nastro for starters. So you're taking it each way, or you're going on the nose?
Yes, I'm not brave enough, I'm afraid, for this one. I will be wankering. I don't know what our friends are offering us. Is it?
I shall tell you, it's half a point each way with the Stoke slut.
Oh yes,
1/5 the odds. First 5 at a Peroni, so you've landed on your feet there, mate. It's a good start. I like it. 33s and 25s, first 2 tips.
We don't mess about.
Yes, I'll bring I'll lower the tone with my shorter price stuff in a minute. John, I'm coming to you for your third best.
You ever wake up in the morning and think that nothing good's going to happen today?
Yeah, every day,
every morning,
often.
Well, that's tomorrow for the citizens of East Cleveland, really, because obviously the pissy wet's got into the ground, and the big day at Redcar, their equivalent of plate day, is upon us, when Darmanstown's finest go looking for a shag after 18 bottles of Diamond White. I am trying to help people out here with a couple of selections at my local, because I will be visiting myself, unfortunately, as well.
John's there tomorrow, chap.
Yes, I've been press ganged into attending, sadly. And the first selection is in the, won't come as any surprise this, it's in the 357 at Redcar, the Straight Mile Championship. And it's me old mucker, Give It Some Teddy. There's an enormous turnaround in the weights with Hopalong's horse that beat him 3 runs back here on the day that Hopalong told Peter Norton that his horse wouldn't want to know when it got tough, and then Hopalong's horse fought like a Comanche to say off Give It Some Teddy, and then Norton went on air and thanked Hopalong for marking our card, which was interesting to say the least. It was a complete non-jigger at Newcastle, and then last time he made his ground up miles too quick after fluffing the start at Ponty. He's got good winning form on heavy ground. I think he's extremely well handicapped, 1 point win.
Good stuff, John. I know you backed it before, and I see it's obviously a lot better off with a boy named Diamond on the Hill. That's the same price.
Yeah, if that goes on slop, it's time to pack the game in.
It's something like £12. Is it something like £12 better off or something?
Yeah, you got beat a midget's dick.
Yeah, how can you have that at same price? So 1 point with Denise at 9 to 2 for John on Give It Some Teddy, 357 Redcar. Good stuff. Okay, I'll come on to my third best. Goes also at your local, John. 537 at Redcar. Very obviously with soup-like conditions tomorrow. Very keen on the Nick Bradley owned Carl Burke trained runner Fast Response at 11 to 2. We talked about the draw at Redcar off air, saying that it could be low. It's been low most of the season. That seems to be the place to be. Stall 3 would be bang ideal in this rather large field. The booking of Ryan Sexton also is a massive plus, taking the 5 off. So ideal conditions for Fast Response, which he's not really had that often. The last time he had a little bit of cut in the ground was when he was second to Intrinsic Bond earlier in the season at Thirsk, and didn't get any luck in running at all when finishing second to that horse. Tight for him in the closing stages. So this horse today, I think, especially with Ryan's 5 off, whatever happens, it has to go close. It really does. But obviously, I'm chasing Richmond down. It's no good me going each way, Charlie, and that's no good. So it's got to be on the nose. So it's going to be 1 point win, Fast Response at the 11 to 2 available with Billy Mounted to change it up. Okay, John, I'll swing it straight back to you for your second best.
Joys. The second best is in the Sun Chariot at Newmarket. And this is, on the face of it, this is a fairly bizarre selection, because this really looks to have had a middling to shit season, shall we say. and that's light on of Sir Michael Stouts. But I think that there could be a bit of recovery action here. She did quite well to win on debut, beating a fair yardstick of Gosden's. Then she, for God's sake, she was pitched in against Baid and the rest at Ascot, where she wasn't disgraced. She got beat about 10 lengths on ground well quick enough for her. She finished about as close to him as you could have expected. Then last time she went to Ireland, and lo and behold, she had a ground, and she was very, very strong in the market that day, and she looked an absolute picture, as though she was just coming to a peak. And then, as luck would have it, she completely spunked the start, rearing up and nearly fly-leapt out the stalls. Super Sumi of the Elbows was riding that day. He just started to make very moderate late gains, and she had to be snatched up again, and he didn't bother after that for the last quarter of a mile, and she was last. But she's had a very light season. Some of these have been, most of the season, knocking spots off each other. She's got good form on heavy, and I think the rain has come just at the right time. I know for a fact that the feeling at Freemason Lodge is that she's as good as I've ever had her, and she really ought to run well here. I'll go with 1 point each way.
Good stuff, and that's 28 with Mountains and Coral. 1/5, 1, 2, 3 for John on Lights On. So nice big price selection again. I like these big prices. Jack, coming to you for your second best.
Right, well, I'm back over the channel again to France, and we're looking at the final race on Sunday. So either the get out of jail stakes more likely than topping up your winnings, but the Prix de la Foret. So I've tried to look at this race with a straight mind, because it could be a slightly frustrated bet if I'm being honest. But I have spent a lot of time and thought with a clear mind. So it's going to be the Aidan O'Brien trained Tenebrism. A lot of reasons for this, to be honest. I mean, this horse is a sprinter and a very good one at that. I was deeply impressed with the Cheveley win last year off a long layoff. Hope for the life of me she'd be campaigned towards the Commonwealth Cup, so much so I parted with quite a few quid. She was always going to go to the Guineas because they're obsessed with trying to get Caravaggio a Group 1 over a mile. She ran a fine race that day. I mean, he went off Fav. There was a lot of market support. Ran fine for 6 furlongs and just bottomed out, and that's pretty much been the story of her season. I hope that day they'd see sense and take her to Ascot, but they didn't. You could almost split this horse into two. I mean, she's run I think 7 races, 4 over a mile, 3 over sprint trips, and won the lot of the sprint trips. So I think the return to 7 will be a positive. And looking at the prices, I'm happy to take Kinross on all day. Really, I don't know what it is about that horse. He's kind of the nearly man of Group 1. So I know he's kind of mopped up the Group 2 7 furlong scene over here. But when you look at some of his form, I don't think he's as solid as the 6-4 makes out. I thought Tenebrism at 9-2. She's already won a 7 furlong Group 1 in France this year. She'll be fine on the ground. Trap 1, possibly not ideal, but I'd rather be in there than 9 where Kinross is. And I couldn't see why she was 9-2, to be honest. I make those two a lot closer in the market, and it's got to be a fairly firm win bet off the back of that.
Like it, yeah. Like you perfectly pointed out, the trip for this horse at a mile stretches her. 7 furlongs, I've absolutely no doubt it's probably a optimum trip. Maybe obviously the very soft ground, possibly not ideal, but the prices 6-4, 9-2, Tenebrism definitely. I can see your reasoning very clearly. That's with Ladbrokes and Coral. Good second choice, Jack. Okay, on to me. I'm going to sound the klaxon, John. Time.
Really?
Give it some Teddy.
Ding dong.
Absolutely. Cannot believe really that Diamond on the Hill and Give It Some Teddy are the same price. Obviously we know it's Fantasy Island prices, but come tomorrow, how can you have a horse that's £12 worse off with for literally a very, very narrow beating? The last time they met over this course and distance, and it's a horse handicapped to win. It was unlucky at Pontefract, squeezed out at the start. I just cannot see how this horse doesn't go off a well-backed, strong Fav. It's all box of ticks, John. You've summed it up. Nothing more to me to add. But so the klaxon has gone. Not quite a foghorn, but it's a klaxon and a good one. So
well, we only get one of these, mate.
Well, yeah, exactly. We don't know what's lurking could be a foghorn. That'd be 3 agreeing. Okay, so that's me done for my second best. Quentin, your second best.
My second best bet, Lee, comes at John's Lurkle. 507 Redcar. Horse I spoke about last time I was on, to be honest, in Jacobet Cavern. Mentioned that I feel we need soft ground to be shown to best effect. The ground dried up at Newbury. On the clock, it said it was kind of good ground. Similar reasoning kind of applies to why I put him up then. He had put up decent figures on the all-weather despite being by 60s icon. Yarmouth race didn't plan out for him. Steadily run race, kind of made a move, finished with running left. Foss Lass just tore away with a decent enough handicap in a fair old time. He got a £9 hike for that. George Bass went up. His claim went down £2, so he essentially went up £11. But he's got £2 back here, and the run at Newbury was full of promise. He kind of travelled well in rear, kind of got boxed in at several occasions, and finished with running left in the tank. The dam's thrown soft ground winners. She wanted soft ground herself. I'm pretty sure he will get his ground tomorrow. Pretty certain he's handicapped off a 77, and the market seemed to have just struck him off. He's 12-1, and that's my 2-point win bet.
Love it. I know how confident you were. You liked this horse at Foss last, didn't you? When
yeah.
Well, I know you backed it. Very, very shrewd, he's Quentin. And so like you say, with ideal conditions coming back, that 12-1 I don't think will last either. So it's a good spot, mate. So good bets all round. I love these prices. It's only me letting the show down so far. I'll kick us off then with the 3-pointers just to embarrass the show, really. It's an embarrassing bet, this is. We're going to go to Newmarket. The horse in question is in the 4:27 race, and it's one for the King, John.
Hey. Hats off.
Yes.
Mellow Yellow. This horse is priced at 13-8. Paddy Power, Betfair, Billy Mountains, and it's a bold statement in a sort of like what you think like 9-runner field Newmarket, but I think it should be odds on. It absolutely pissed all over Misty Dancer at Wolverhampton. Misty Dancer just couldn't get near it. And when you consider that Harry Burns was on taking the 5 off a good apprentice as well, but let's say weights and measures, it was giving that £7 and it gave it a good hiding. And Misty Dancer's now rated 85. This is 88. And you look at the previous form, it beat Peripatetic of Roger Varian's. I know it's last year's form, and but you've seen what Peripatetic's done. That went close in a Group 3 the other day. 88's mincemeat. It's got a round action, which I reckon they've been waiting for the autumn and soft ground. Obviously, it suffered a fracture at Newmarket when it ran over this course. But I'm convinced that was because I don't think the ground was ideal that day. That's the one worry, really. I'm not bothered about the opposition. It destroys the opposition. But the fact it's coming here and this is where it had its fracture might be a slight worry. But other than that, this horse is a lot better than 88. In fact, Mellow Yellow, she's I believe she's entered in the Fillies and Mares Champions. So you can see what regard they have. This is not a case of like, oh well, you're tipping short prices. I genuinely think 13-8 is top value, and I think as long as she just turns up, she wins. So and runs a race, she won't get beat. So there we go, 13-8, 3 points win, and hopefully it'll do the biz for me tomorrow. Okay, who shall I come back to? I think Quentin, I'm coming back to you for your best.
My best bet, Lee, 15.57 Redcar. It is Mark Johnston trained Spirit Catcher.
No, how dare you? How dare you go there? How dare you do this? You're going against the klaxon. You bugger.
I've gone against the Klaxon, no Faucon, sadly. I've got to chase Richmond down, so I've got to try and dig out some big prices. I've been waiting for this horse to get back on soft ground, to be honest. He reappeared in April and won the Royal Mile. Now, it's red hot form. Did well under the circumstances, up with a strong pace throughout. Beat Dirty Old Town. Desert Angel came out and won that since. Atriums came out and won since. It's just rock solid, strong form. And this is a massive drop in grade, to be honest. There were signs of life at Redcar back in July when he set a steady pace in the first time hood. But didn't really look at ease on the fast ground. York again last time out, caught the eye, hampered at the 3 furlong pole, hampered at the 2 furlong pole, switched out and finished with running left. The Musselburgh form came on ground with cut, and the Damla Dansky, her sole win came on soft ground. She was listed place on soft ground and came fourth in another listed race on heavy ground. So I'm pretty sure he wants ease underfoot and will look more comfortable with that. Normally you kind of get these types of horses entered up in the horse and training sales at the end of the season, but he is not entered in the sales. So I'm thinking they feel they've got a little bit more to come from him, possibly when they gelled him over the winter. He's down in grade here, mark of 86. He's obviously drawn in 9, but there's absolutely no pace, bar Diamond on the hill. So should get near enough to the rail. 3 points win 18-1.
3 points on the nose, 18s, Paddy Power and Betfair. Interesting stuff. That's against the Klaxon, which is a disgrace. Quentin loses points and marks for that. That's just absolutely disgraceful behaviour. And you know he's going to chin me, and John, he'll do it. This is the final furlong. Give it some Teddy up the far side. Here's give it some Teddy. He's tucking up. Here comes Spirit Catcher with a late bet. Spirit Catcher gets up closer.
Well, you can back the forecast, and then we'll all be in clover, won't we?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll never lose on a Quentin Frank selection ever. So there'll be some, at least some like poxy savers going in on Quentin's 3-pointer from me. Spirit Catcher, good luck, Quentin, but not too much luck. Jack, your best, please.
Right, well, I'm back in Blighty. I couldn't avoid it entirely as much as I tried. We're going to go for the 3 o'clock at Ascot, the Group 3 6 furlong, and it's a pretty unoriginal selection, but I'll be going with Rohan. I mean, I looked at the race, and as much as I tried to take him on, I just couldn't find a reason to be honest. He loves Ascot. He's 3 for 4 at the track. Any bit of rain will benefit him. You know, he goes very nicely on the soft and heavy stuff. Ran well at the track, ran a stormer in the Wokingham earlier this season. Had an interesting campaign. I think they've kind of tried him out, so to speak. In a, they took him up to York for 7. That didn't suit at all. But you look at some of his form. 3rd behind Minzal in the Sprint Cup at Haydock. Yeah. A decent 4th in the Maurice de Geese behind Highfield Princess. That form alone is good enough to win this. He's up against a mixture of exposed handicappers and 3-year-olds on a redemption mission. So I thought the 7-2 was pretty fair. And for the bare fact that I've backed him in a couple of weeks' time for the champion sprint, I couldn't let him go at sort of 7-2 for what looks like a pretty easy race, to be honest.
Yeah, like a brilliant selection, Jack. Obviously, listeners will know that Rohan I've been banging on about since the Wokingham. They ran it mistakenly at York, and then he ran a blinder at Haydock. Obviously not as good as Minzal, but that's no great shame. And he's 3 from 4 here, Jack, as well. So yeah, absolutely adores the play. Got a
jockey upgrade as well with the Drunk Italian on for Holly. So yeah, just looked all good to me.
7-2 for your max bet. A lot like it. Yeah, obviously Rohan, I think, would have a major chance in that race there. Good stuff. John, to finish us off, please, John.
Well, I'll finish us off in style, I think. The 4:32 at Redcar, there's a good case for saying this is probably the worst race of the weekend. So, who says we don't do glamour on the show that's not completely shit? Rainbow Jet, formerly rated 78. We get in here off 61, which is part due to decline and part due to some absolute stinkers she's had from the saddle. None more so than the last time she was seen here over this course and distance on soft ground, when Franny Norton never put her in the race with any sort of chance whatsoever. I think the ground has definitely come in her favour. The fact that she's with a fairly unfashionable trainer, so she might not attract a lot of market interest. But anyone watching the last run couldn't help but thinking she's got a race of this nature in her. She goes well fresh. She's won over this distance on heavy after 227 days off. So don't worry about the big gaps into the last run. Mackie's on 67% horses running to farm in the last fortnight, and he's had a recent winner, which indicates all's well with the yard. He's probably got him in as good a form as he's had him in all season. The one worry here would be the lack of pace. I couldn't really see anybody that was going to go and do skilted fractions, but I think that today's rain will help make it more of a test. Anybody that's worried can wait and see what it looks like when they jump off, to be honest, because she won't be anywhere near the front early. She'll still be around about the 8-1 mark, I would have thought, and I'm perfectly happy to go with 3 points win.
Indeed, very well handicapped mare. Obviously, been possibly difficult to train given like sporadic visits to the track. Obviously, definitely needs cut, like John's pointed out. But £6 lower than her last winning mark. Like you said, John, for the lack of potential pace, you're getting the bonus that this mare's coming in here very, very well handicapped. And like you say, 8, that could be a really great price, 8-1. So. Lovely stuff, like it. That's so 3 points win at 8 for John to finish the roundup. You enjoyed those selections, some cracking selections at big prices from some very, very good judges. Right, on to the racing then, the telebox racing, as we like to cover. We're going to cover Longchamp as well, the best we can in the time allotted. So we'll start off tomorrow in the telebox race. 131 Newmarket we'll go to. Al Huzzen's 7-2 favourite. Any views here, chaps?
I thought that. As long as the Fav handle's cut, I'd be disappointed if she's not better than 92, to be honest. That was my only take, but didn't like her enough for a bet.
Yeah.
My view on the race was like, I think you had said on, was it the sermon, Lee, about pace holding up that day. So you can mark up Al Huzzen when she won in a good time. I wanted to be with something enticing. Not had soft ground to suit. Comes here on the back of a wind up, Shamey on top. I still feel like they've pitched her in at listed level already. Kept her on the go since the switch from Ellsworth. Finally getting her ground this season. I think she's got scope off a 93. Crystal Estrella, that was one you thought was getting potential to get black type in time, wasn't it?
Yeah, Crystal Estrella. I did think at Goodwood after beating Recherche, that was good form at the time, Quentin, but possibly hasn't worked out as well as you'd like. Recherche not really gone on, but I do think Christopher Estrella with her family, etc. He's obviously going to progress into something pretty useful. But I like your selection as well, something enticing, because I think, like you've just said, this horse always was very promising for David Ellsworth, and like you said, they've not had it right yet. So at a price, that's an interesting runner also. But like you said about Al Huzzen, tomorrow, chaps, Newmarket, there's a big tailwind. So will that affect any of your players tomorrow?
Not me.
I've not had one as of yet, so probably not.
Right. So just be wary that tomorrow it's a sizable 17, 18 miles an hour. It's sort of 2/3 behind them. So basically, what Newmarket's like. You'd rather be Mark Johnston than David Simcock there tomorrow, so to speak.
I'd rather be David Simcock than Mark Johnston. To be honest.
Well, yeah.
If I woke up one morning and found myself Mark Johnston, I think it'd be a shotgun in the mouth.
Good old kilt. Right, so yeah, that's the 131 done. 206 then, the auction stakes. Amici bidding for more money for owner Lawrence Bellman and Ed Walker, having mopped up the last sales race. He's going for another pot. What do we think for the sales race, chaps?
Absolutely no problem with the favourite, and the favourite at the price, to be honest. Big on the clock last time out, handles cutting the ground. This looks a lot weaker than, I know sales races are generally weak affairs. Like there's normally a lot of dead wood, but this looks particularly weak with nothing on at least my numbers. kind of running to anything like the level he's ran to at the moment. I thought 130 with a high draw, he's going to sit handy to midfield, which he's not going to be dropped out the back of the telly, which, as you said about the wind there, will help. I've got no problem at all with the 130 on offer.
Yeah, I'm same as you. To be honest, the betting I think spot on. The second fabs, I think that's going to be a nice horse in time Sky Sale, but I think it probably wants 7 furlongs. I'm not sure that Newmarket's going to play to its strength, but then they might go bananas and help that come through late maybe. But that was it. Jack, John, any views here?
I think there's a big price play for small money. Julie Wood's Land of Summer, Richard Hannon.
Yeah.
Very definitely a 6 furlong horse. I think we're very hard to say this one didn't hit around the 86 mark when running 7 lengths behind Meditate at Ascot. Afterwards, just got hopelessly outpaced in the super sprint. Was somewhat unlucky at Goodwood, got squeezed out at the start. It was just one of them races, a Goodwood special. And then the 7 furlong race, she got bumped at the start again, really. And I could see a little bit of a revival. The form figures don't look inspiring. It's going to be a nice price. A very small play each way for me.
Just to defend your claims, I know you were like tinkering. Just this is a small play, but Land of Summer is getting a lot of weight, getting £13 from Amici. Official rating of 81. Land of Summer 88. Amici. That's worth pointing out.
I think if you're toying around with the figures, you could make a case for this being rather well in.
And who knows? Cambridge to style is the high numbers the place to be. Could be tomorrow, folks. We don't know until we see it. But Stall 28 might be a massive plus after the race. That's the thing with Newmarket. There are certain biases there, and will that exist tomorrow? 242 Newmarket, Sun Chariot. Right, John. Obviously, you sit this one out. You've put lights on out. Quentin, Jack. Anything for you guys in this?
Well, I like Saffron Beach as a horse, and it's hard to fault a horse that's. I think she's second round the Rolling Mile, and she's won every other start. So I did play her anti-post a little while ago. I was disappointed to see Weld decided to bring his along. But having looked at her Guineas win, which was ultra impressive, it's not worked out form-wise. She looked flat on the last start. I'm not sure she's as good as we all kind of thought and hoped she might be. I was disappointed to see that Saffron Beach will be carrying a £10 penalty in the form of a blogger, Max Bet. So that made me feel a little bit worse about the race. But I think she's solid. Probably wouldn't play her at kind of sub 2 to 1, but I'd be disappointed if she can't beat these, to be honest.
Quentin?
Weld's harped on all season about wanting soft ground for this filly, and he kind of missed Ascot, wanted soft ground, but she's blown out on good to soft at the back end last year. She's blown out on her seasonal her reappearance last time out. Does she really want soft ground, or does she just want a good surface? Like the tongue ties on. Screams of one that I don't particularly like homeless songs. In terms of a bet, I feel Laurel at this stage, good back end sectionals, but it's a big jump up from a Kempton novice to a Group 1, so they've chucked her in the deep end. I think John's right with the lights on play, to be honest. Each way you got 9 runners, one pretty much just turning up. I'd be with John with lights on for all the points he made.
Interesting. Couple of things here. First one is I had a very strong message for Homeless Songs from my Irish man today. Homeless Songs' last piece of work was scintillating, apparently. Absolutely, Weld is just saying this is the best he's ever had her. She was rabidly keen in her last run in the Matron, which puts me off. You can use that information to your heart's content, but Weld is absolutely buzzing about her. It says that he's never had her this good. But 21 days after pulling hard in the Matron, am I bothered? Not particularly. I'm more interested in what you've just said, Quentin, or mentioned, Laurel. The sectionals at Kempton cannot be underplayed because despite, obviously, it's just a small field novice race, Sorry, not small field, well, 9 runners, but small novice race in terms of this is a Group 1. People will naturally diss her and say, well, this can't win. How can this win? I'll tell you now, right? There is nothing that's got within half a second of her closing sectionals in the, from what I've been bothered to check in the last 2 years at Kempton, right? On the snaff. I'll tell you what she did. She did 33-1 for the last 3 furlongs, albeit off 116%, so a slowly run race. But she also did 21-3 for the last 2 furlongs. That's a serious filly. You could. Is Saffron Beach going to run? Is Saffron Beach going to run quicker than that? I mean that like for 3 furlongs, I doubt it. The only thing that puts me off, obviously, is the Banks Hill line on the dam side. Who knows? Will she go on? If it turns up really soft, is that like you say, experience? So while she's not a bet, I urge punters not to dismiss Laurel tomorrow, because she is a very, very good filly and physically is an absolute beast. So Laurel is one for the future. Whatever happens tomorrow, she is one to be seriously considering in your betting armoury, folks. Okay, so that's Newmarket done. We'll have a look now at John's local Redcar for the 2-year-old trophy. Any views here, chaps?
I was kind of with John last time out. He mentioned the O'Meara filly by James Garfield.
Maria Branwell.
That's the one. There we go. Yeah, Maria Branwell. Plum drawing 1. You kind of think Low's gonna be the order of the day. I think John had mentioned about the ground at Ayr, and it was just genuine good ground. She finally got some dig underfoot tomorrow. She was outpaced last time out, slightly checked, and she looked like falling out the back of the telly, but was coming back more at the death. May need 7 furlongs at this stage, but with testing going likely to put an emphasis on stamina, I won't be letting her run free at, I think she's about 14-1 in a few places.
Yeah. Maria Branwell for O'Meara. Jack, John?
I've got to be on side with Quentin with that one. I think there's a bit of value there. Cold Case is probably the most likely winner, but I like Maria Branwell. I think she's.
Will Cold Case handle like sorts? Like I know it was sort of good to soft, but he wasn't at his best in that sales race, was he?
No, he wasn't.
We went well enough at it at Chester, didn't he, when he was round the slower inside?
Tostardo, he was unlucky in running behind Tostardo. Yeah, I accept. He probably will go on it, but yeah, he's just another query. But it is the solid gym crack for him.
I think the price is right.
Yeah, that was my view.
Yeah. As I said, I just thought Maria Branwell was slightly overpriced.
Good stuff. Okay, we'll move on then quickly to Ascot, where it probably will end up sloppy looking at there's 4 races there on TV. The Rous Stakes, Manacan is 9-2. Fav, I can't have that on. I keep opposing it on ground reasons, because if you watch its action, it's just not. It won't go on. For me, that action cannot exceed on soft ground. So I'm opposing Manacan here. That's just my own angle. What's your thoughts, chap?
Yeah, I thought the old boy Tis Marvellous might be there and amongst it. Obviously won this race last year. He goes fine on the softer stuff. I hate to just keep harping the track form sort of bell, but he goes very well around there. I thought sort of 7-1 was probably about fair. His last race, if you saw the one won by Mick Barhirs, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, he got checked in running, but his kind of mid-race sectionals were pretty good, but wasn't asked for much of an effort, to be honest. So I thought on the balance of it, 7-1 wasn't a bad price for him.
Yeah, loves this place obviously as well, and like you say, it's not really above his pay grade, despite being 8. He's very capable at this level still for sure. Quentin?
I was with you. I don't think you said he won't exceed on the surface. I say he won't excel on the surface. Manacan.
Yes.
He says Signet Cell. He's got the Newmarket run was in good stuff. I don't think they'll run him, to be honest. But no, I was with Jack. Tis Marvellous now on the head. Goes well at Ascot. Kirby back on top from Hannigan, won the race last year. Goes with Dig Underfoot. There's not much not to like, to be honest. I thought Sevens was a shade overs, probably more 11 or 2-5 poke.
John?
Yeah, I'd be chucking in with that one as well, I think.
Yeah, no, pretty unanimous there, the bar stewards there. Good stuff. Okay, we'll move on to the 225, which is the Cumberland Lodge Stakes. Any of you here, chaps?
I think there's a bit of a play here at the price. Get Shirty. Likes the track. Conditions are fine. I think this can definitely run to his mark of 110. I think there's a case for saying Hamish doesn't always hit his mark round here. I'm not convinced Hamish likes this track in particular. He's been a little bit disappointed a couple of times here. And I thought he had a bloody hard race in Ireland. And for one that doesn't seem to take his racing that well, this might come soon enough. High definition appears to have reverted to type. I've never been much of a fan of Cresta, despite the impressive win last time. And Yoke and Glen, well, he's Yoke and Glen, isn't he? You don't know what they're going to do. They might make the running even tomorrow. But I just think this one's a bit of value here at Ned.
Good stuff, John. Yeah. Jack, Quentin?
Yeah, I nearly had a bet in the race, to be honest. I mean, there's a big ground question mark. Looking through his form, he's not often been tried on the softer stuff. But I thought Candleford was a shade big at sort of 16s. Travelled really nicely in his last race in the race won by Siskany at HQ a couple of weeks ago. You know, last off the bridle, looked the winner a couple out. I mean, if you stop watching the race there, you'd have thought he'd have come home, but just couldn't find for whatever reason. Obviously won ultra impressively at the track a few months ago. And yeah, I thought, you know, sort of 16-1 for him was a possible kind of each way dart. But yeah, main consensus is I'm with John on not fancying Hamish at sort of 13-8 really.
Good stuff, Quentin.
Well, there's a few I weren't really keen on. Hamish looked short enough. Reasons John pointed out. Cresta, I don't really like the way he goes about his business. The head's always kind of up in the air. I'm going to throw a few quid at Farhan in the place market. It's not like John Butler to go and try and just spunk a mark, given the November handicaps coming up that he won last year. But I think there's a lot more to come from the horse on soft ground. He obviously won the November handicap on soft ground last year. Reappeared in May it was, and was well backed at Hamilton, just blew out, clearly an issue. Came back at York and won on good to firm ground. I'm pretty sure there's more to come from him, and a fair bit more at that. I suspect he'll be underestimated in the place market, so that's where I'll be having a few quid at him.
Good stuff. Look, like it, like the choices there. So I think we're all sort of. I also want to take on Hamish at the prices. I think that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. Just having if it's under 2-1, I'll be having some nice layers on the machine. 3:00 Ascot, the Bengough Stakes, the Group 3 affair. Obviously, Rohan is Jack's big tip. I'm all over Jack's tip, really. I couldn't back anything else in the race. John, Quentin, thoughts?
I'm not entirely convinced that Zini will suit Rohan.
The drunk.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a hunch, as Quasimodo once said, but I'm not entirely convinced he's the jockey that the horse wants. I think he's a horse that takes a bit annoying, you know. I don't fancy backing him at the price with a new jockey up. I think Vadream's got a big run in him in a race of this nature with the conditions. And I also quite like the look of Flaming Rib, who I think's been running pretty well all season. I think that one should be on the premises at least. But I don't feel compelled to have a bet, to be honest.
Okie dokie. Quentin?
I was kind of with John with the dream. I give her a mention at Newmarket, and John came and swiped with a 20-1 poke that Chinder goes well at Ascot. Short head Lang goes well at Ascot. Soft ground form. Not much not to like, to be honest. Double figures is fair, but I'm not really bouncing to have a bet. There's a nice all-weather card to get stuck in. So,
well, our dream did win this last year. You know, like you say, it's like at the prices that could be a bit of value. But no, me and Jack are out on this. It's We love a fab. 336 Ascot. It's the big heritage handicap over 7 furlongs. Thoughts here, anyone?
Whistle for the dog.
Yeah, could be gin and pate, this one.
Gin and pate. Quentin, what will you be doing in Toronto when this race is on?
336. Well, Palace will be 2 down to Chelsea, so that's about that.
Yeah, that's what we think tonight.
Going on a moose hunt or something, right?
Yeah, moose and elk.
No moose in the city, John. I will. In fact, what I'll be doing, I'll be back in Oudalali. I think it's about 33 to 1 or something, 28 to 1. Gonna have a few quid win only on that. Tongue tie goes on. Best form on soft ground. Shaped okay at Goodwood. Didn't really get the best of trips. Just coming down into weights now. Callum Hutchinson's a fair £5 claimer. He's improving of late. Shouldn't really be that sort of price. So I'm going to have a few bob on him.
Oudalali, yeah. Tongue tie for the first time for the Andrew Baldwin, who's just obviously been hauled in for a drugs case. Good old Andrew, sticking the needles in.
I thought he must have stopped using them this year because he's done as well.
It is what it is,
Hopefully his jockey has, anyway.
Yeah, just reported. Right, any business at Longchamp Saturday? Anyone?
It was tough there, I thought.
Yeah, I did.
There wasn't anything really that stood out. I thought in the
nothing from me.
The Royal Year, if I've butchered that. See the Sky looked somewhat interesting. She had some nice form behind Eternal Pearl a couple of starts ago, then went and won over course and distance last time out. I thought she looked fairly big at sort of 14s, 16s. I just wanted to take on that Aussie thing to piss Tim Carroll off, really.
Like it. Yeah, like it, Jack. Yes. That's what we do. Like just to piss people off. That's what we do. Quentin, John, anything for you Saturday?
Well, I'll be at Redcar with the Ginger Hitler, and they'll be doing 10 trebles on the 5 fabs. So I just hope they all get chinged.
Quentin,
same race as Jack. Off to Lynn, the Minutier horse. I thought it was fairly telling earlier in the season. He came out and said she needs it soft, like softer the better, proper slop she wants. Has yet to really have that. She ran well at St. Cloud, picking up a listed race. I think there's more to come as stamina's just gradually drawn out of her. She's going to be a better 4-year-old, judging on looks wise. I know she's got a bit defined with Sea Silk Road on the Goodwood running, but I think she's going to keep on improving with the trip and as a physical. So she's ragged a field. One of the rags 25 in a place. A few quid at her.
Yeah, I think Sergeant Wilson. Quentin, who do you think he looks like? Menezia.
Oh, Augustus Gloop in the old Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Sorry, Johnny. He's usurped you there. I might have to change the page on Bar Stewards on this because Augustus Gloop I think is better than Sergeant Wilson. John, have you ever seen that Charlie and the Chocolate?
Yes, I have, and I think you're absolutely spot on. He's a top model, isn't he?
Augustus Gloop. There we go. One for Augustus Gloop. We like it. We've got a name change, and yeah, he's always hunted soft ground for this. So obviously genuinely needs it. So Attillion, interesting choice from Quentin at 25s. Right, okay, I have nothing Saturday. So we're on to Sunday. Longchamp's races on Sunday, and we'll start off with the Grand Criterium live on ITV.
Are they showing a lot?
No, they are. No, they're quite disappointing really because they're only going. I think the first 3, I believe, which is the Grand Criterion, the Boussac, and the Arc de Triomphe, and the rest.
That's desperate.
Yeah, I think so. Because Longchamp's done a good job here. Group 1.
It's a great day.
Yeah, I think it's a poor show. Channel 4 used to obviously roll the carpet out for this meeting.
Yeah.
And go bananas for every race really.
ITV letting Leona have a go, or is it another?
Yeah, she's there. She might be at Red. No, she's. Redcar tomorrow. She's actually at Ascot tomorrow. He's Leona. So yeah. So there we go.
So it'll be Megan in Longchamp with a 1,500 quid frock on.
Right, preview time. We're running short of time, so we need to get through these. So the Grand Criterium. I'll kick us off. GameStop is a ludicrous price at 20-1. Absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't matter if it wins. It's just the wrong price. It was beaten by Tigray and Braze Sky that are 4-1 and 6-1 respectively last time out. This horse is now sporting a hood for the first time. Pulled. It's just pulling too hard. It's a very good horse. He sort of missed the kick, pulling hard, doing everything wrong. The hood, if the hood sorts it, it will beat those two, and that's 4-1 and 6-1. How can this be 20s when it was a shorter price to beat them last time? Any views on this?
I'm happy to take your advice there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's made my case really. I didn't have a massive opinion. I wasn't too hot on the Fav wanting 7 furlongs. I know he stayed on in the middle park, but
he's slow, isn't he? He's a bit slow. He's vulnerable to anything with a bit of foot.
Yeah.
Well, the conditions will help. Quentin?
Yeah, I've done a great deal on the Longchamp card, sadly, but I was looking at opposing the Antarctic, and you've kind of just done my homework for me, so I'm going to roll in with that, Lee.
Yeah, very smart. I mean, they sent this off at 2s on its debut. I mean, and then 3-10 for its second start. So they must think this is an absolute flying machine. Obviously, pulls. But last time, it's as if like they tried to. I think they just wanted it to miss the break to settle it, and they've realised it probably. I mean, it's one of them. If it settles for the hood, I mean, Jesus. I mean, 20 is going to look huge. You know, it's going to be. It should be second 5 if it settles. So. There we go. GameStop, an interesting contender for me. We'll go on to the Marcel Boussac. The promising filly Kalina heads the market 11-4. Very impressive, but she has had the runs of the races in her 2 wins. Very, very kind races, easy trips, medal on debut, and then second time she sat on the shoulder. I'm not convinced at 11-4. Never-ending story for me. That was very unlucky in the Moigler. Very unlucky. You know, got squeezed out at a crucial point. Probably would have, I wouldn't have said won the race, but would have been like a sort of close third had that not happened. So never-ending story. I think it's a great bet at 11-2 for listeners if you fancy a bet in that. Thoughts, chaps?
I'm with you, Lee. I thought exactly the same. I mean, if she got a clear run in that race, it's one of the worst trips I've ever seen. And say she finished, a length behind Meditate in a clear third, what price would she be? That's the best form on offer. And I thought 11-2 was very generous.
Yeah, I thought each way a pleasure. I think she's going the right way, definitely. Quentin, John?
Absolutely nothing from me.
I didn't have an opinion on this.
Okay, so we move on quickly then to the main event of the of Sunday's fair. Jack's already put his hat into the ring with his ARC bet, and I said we'd discuss this more at length because Vedeni is probably one of the most overrated horses in training. Not because of what it's achieved. It's just a case of it was probably a lucky Eclipse winner because Mishrif would have beaten it with a clean run. That can't be in doubt. Secondly, it had a dream trip when it ran in the French Derby. Lovely sit behind the leader. Ernesto and Al Hakim had dreadful trips in the French Derbies. Chantilly can't win wide, and the sectionals said that Ernesto and Al Hakim would be as good as Vedeni. So Jack's argument for Al Hakim, I think, is absolutely splendid at 25s. There's not much between Ernesto and Al Hakim. I don't care what Ernesto has gone on and done. There's nothing between Ernesto and Al Hakim. I don't know how they'll all handle the ground, but for me, the bet has to be the Japanese horse title holder. An amazing price. If this had been like more near a good ground, I'd have said this should have been Fav. And obviously it isn't, is it? It's not. So yeah, this is the big doubt. It is a motivator dam sire. This horse broke the clock last time out in the Tikkanen in Japan. It's beat Deep Bond 7 lengths in a 2-mile race. I know it's a bit bizarre, the Japan form. They just run them over 1.5 miles, 2 miles a mile, and 6 miles and 3. They do whatever. But for me, this is a genuine 125 horse. It's got an official rating according to the Racing Post, 118. That's bollocks. This is not a good arc. this is probably one of the most moderate arcs. Like Jack said, had Baid ran, most of these would have just not ran. And because Baid's not there, they're all running. And I think, bizarrely, despite they had Deep Impact and a lot of class horses, Japan, I think title holder that is comfortably the best horse in Japan right now. This has an outstanding chance at 9-1 if it handles the ground. If it does, this for me goes very close title holder. Thoughts, chaps? Quentin and Joe.
I'm with Jack. I'm going to have a couple of small darts at large prices in the race. Jack made the perfect case for Al Hakim.
Yeah.
You've made a good case for title holder, so they're the two I want on side. Al Hakim was the exact same reasons as Jack. One that I'm not going to be letting run free is Alan Kerr. I think he's 80s and he's been nibbled on the machine now. That generally 66s. I think he's just got a bit of a lazy streak in him. The blinds have gone on first time. He's a horse that came into the season and I expected a lot more. Soft ground will suit. There was signs of life at Leopardstown last time out. I won't be letting him run free at 66s, 80s to 1. No,
good point. Definitely love the ground. Haggis has got an amazing record as well, Quentin, with first time blinkers. Like I don't know why he has, but he just has. Did you do that with Solcombe in the Melrose?
Yep, first time handicap. First time blinds went on
and absolutely pissed up. I mean, this man's a shrewd judge. The shirt, he's a shrewd judge. And I like that's good from Quentin. That could run massive maybe in the first time blind. John.
Disappointingly, I found myself and the Ginger Hitler singing from the same hymn sheet. We both fancy Nastro.
Yeah, he's a very good horse, John.
Yeah, I mean he has got that bit of form with the key horse, Sir Bob Parker, hasn't he? You know. So.
Yeah, I mean I had a monster bet on him in France 2 starts ago. I couldn't believe the price. I just thought he was absolutely different class to the opposition, and obviously in that race with Eldar Eldaroff that won the St Leger.
Mm-hmm. So I think he's a bit more guaranteed stairs than Luxembourg.
Yeah,
and I'm not convinced Luxembourg's reached his full potential yet, and I think soft ground might just find him out physically in France over the trip.
Ernesto Al Hakim. I like them all. I like Quentin Slick. I like Alan Kerr. I think that's a good shout. Big odds. Tassa. If it's bog deep come Sunday, then the Alderflug. You love an Alderflug, John, don't you? Honestly.
I love a German Panzer.
Yeah, 15-2. That might not look too bad if it really is.
Achtung, baby.
Achtung, baby. Yep. Okay, we'll move on to the Prix de l'Opera, and obviously I say he's bouncing here for his double on above the curve, but now for me a prohibitive 7-2. I'm not really that keen, and my choice here was my Astra. I felt that horse was possibly given a little bit too much to do against La Petite Coco. This is the perfect ground for my Astra, and I just think that's far too big at 10-1 each way a pleasure. If you're trying to pinch, I think that has to run its race for the shirt. Thoughts here, chaps?
I thought you're probably about to make the same point as me. I thought La Parisienne being thrown in makes this a really good race, to be honest.
Yeah.
And makes a bet tough. I mean, I probably would still favour above the curve, but like you said, Lee, I couldn't be having her at 7-2. If she were to drift considerably, I might consider it. But yeah, I think it's a really, really strong renewal, to be honest.
It is very, very good race. This obviously Nashwa heads the market and deservedly so. A NASA winner, the Prix Diane Hermes winner, third in the Oaks. But yeah, I do think it's a very, very strong renewal, Jack. Quentin, John?
La Parisienne for me came home fastest of all when behind Nashwa, short nose behind her that day. Draw could have been better. I think she'll drift on the back of that. She's drawn out in 15. But that's the most likely winner for me. I've got no doubts in regards to the ground. Like, she's related to Sky Cutter of I can't remember who trains it, but someone in the UK, and that goes well with a lot of dig underfoot. So La Parisienne for me.
Sky Cutter, that's Phil Kirby, isn't it?
That's the one, yeah.
I'm going to have something on La Creusian because I was going to back her in the yard.
Oh no, yeah, there was lots of people disappointed when she didn't make the cut. Literally, absolutely, like this is wrong. You know, she should be in the arc. So yeah, interesting. 15 though, it's not great, is it?
No, it's not. He's going to drop in, isn't he, and make loads of trouble.
Yeah. Mosse is older than me and you, John.
Just. He remembers when it was all just failed.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll go down to the off Sky cards. So the off ITV. The ITV aren't even covering their opera. They're a disgrace. Anyway, so the 425, the Prix Labai, which has always been on terrestrial TV as long as I can remember, but it's not this time. The Platinum Queen, the 2-year-old, heads the market 11-4. Any of you here, chaps?
Do 2-year-olds still win this? I remember Siggy winning it back in the mid-70s, but I don't know whether they're still winning it or not.
Well, I mean, we all know. I mean, like I said in the Nunthorpe, the 2-year-old weight for age is advantageous.
Yeah.
I think that played out. You know, she ran a blinder.
But like, this wouldn't be as pace friendly, this track, as would it? Because you can actually fall victim into a late pouncer here, can't you? And the late pouncer that I have in mind is Fuzzy Stacks, Castle Star, and we all want to win the champion sprint.
What's the draw? Does anyone know the draw here, though, chaps? Isn't it a low draw or it's a low draw?
Definitely low. High draws car park territory, and you do well to win from there. But I mean, given how many of the main protagonists are drawn high, I mean that might change the shape of the race a little bit. But yeah, I think typically you want to be low here.
Yeah, that's what I've always thought. Quentin?
Absolutely no opinion on the race at all.
Yeah, I love Quentin. Quentin's done now. After Arc, Quentin's done.
Three double-figure draws in 10 years.
Yeah, Quentin's on the Shays Longs, wanting to know Oz.
Who's Tom Eves riding anyway? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's it. Yeah, Mr. Labai is Tom Eves. Has he won 3 pre-abbeys?
He's won more than us.
Silk Slippers, Tangerine Trees. Yeah. Well, no, he won't get it right. 2% Tom. Just showing how it's done there over at Longchamp. Yeah, Jack Trace now to finish the show, thankfully. Everyone's had enough for us by now and turned off, and rightfully so. 5 o'clock Longchamp is the Prix La Foret, and Jack's already Tenebrism and made a good case. Quentin?
Kinross, I'm surprised he's not odds on, to be honest. Finally got his ground. He's actually improving on the clock. Gets his ground again here. There's absolutely nothing not to like. Softer ground, the better for him, and he is actually an improving 5-year-old. Beckett's obviously in fucking fantastic nick. Nothing not to like. Should be odds on. 6-4 is fine for me.
There you go, Quentin. Quentin's getting off the Shays Longs after he's had his hors d'oeuvres delivered after the 425, and he's getting onto the machine and smashing into this late Kinross at 6-4. That's Quentin's view, John.
Well, I don't think it looks an absolute match between Kinross and Tenebrism, to be honest.
Yeah. So,
boring, really.
Yeah, no. I did like Jack Case because of the price. You know, it is between those two, and like you say, Kinross, I don't know, 6-4 and 9-2. You take your pick. Which do you want to be on at the prices? But I like both. I've enjoyed that show. Thank you, chaps. Thank you, John, Quentin, Jack. Hopefully you'll back plenty of winners, and we'll be back on Sunday with the Sunday sermon as usual. All from us. Bye for now.